Emmy nominations have been announced. Britney Spears and the latest in her court battle. Plus, why is everyone talking about Jamie Lee Curtis?
It's all coming up right now on The Tape. Hey everyone, and welcome to The Take. I'm Elizabeth Wagmeister.
And I'm Clayton Davis, and we're here to give you our take on some of the week's biggest stories. It was a big, busy week, lots to talk about, lots of news.
Yes, lots of news, but also the Emmy nominations came down. You were all over this. I know that you're excited about a lot, also have some thoughts about some of the snubs, so why don't you take us through it?
Let's get to it. The 74th annual Emmy nominations were announced, where HBO Succession led the tally with 25 nominations. Also, there were a lot of records broken, a lot of history being made. Quinta Brunson from ABC's Abbott Elementary becoming the first Black woman to be nominated for producing, acting, and writing in the same year. Also, superstar Zendaya making history as the youngest producer ever nominated for her show, Euphoria. She picked up 4 nominations in total. Also for songwriting, 2 original songs. She is the first person to be nominated for acting and songwriting in the same year. But obviously snubs were there, with Yellowstone being completely shut out. Also the final seasons of Blackish and This Is Us. Listen, this is the big takeaway from the nomination tally. We had some great moments, but also we had a lot of the same moments, meaning the same show recognized a lot. Ted Lasso picking up a lot of nomination. Succession broke the record for the most acting nominations in the same year from the same series, which was held by Roots back in 1977. And obviously we saw The White Lotus pick up a lot of nominations. In the supporting categories in particular, there are 14 spots there. 8 of them went to White Lotus, 5 went to Dope Sick, and the other one went to Seth Rogen. So we're seeing a lot of the same stuff.
Yes, no, I mean, these are all great shows and obviously very deserving of their nominations, but it seems like something needs to be done where there's a limit on how many nominations one show can get, because first of all, there's so much TV. There's too much TV. If it's all going to just a handful of shows, you're shutting out so many other great shows and great talent, but also what we're going to see here is a lot of the votes canceling each other out. So if you have all these nominations for White Lotus, which is one of my favorite shows and clearly a favorite show of so many Academy voters, then what do? Who do you vote for? So I think it can get people into some trouble here. But another takeaway that I took from the nominations is there's so much great talent on TV and the caliber is so high. You have so many A-listers. And we were seeing people like Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway from We Crashed, which I thought was excellent, completely shut out. And I think it just shows that no matter how big the star, no matter how big the project, you just have so much TV, so much talent that there's just not enough room for everyone. I mean, and just like that, completely shut out as well.
Yeah, and listen, Selena Gomez, someone who gave an amazing performance in Only Murders in the Building. She was nominated as a producer in a comedy series, becoming the 3rd Latina to be recognized in that category. However, one fix here, and something that not everyone knows, for Emmy nominations, a voter can vote for as much as they want. There is no limit to that. That would alleviate some of the problem there. Absolutely,
and I'm glad you brought up Selena, because from my perspective, she was the biggest snub of the Emmys. I thought that she should have been a lock. I think that she is excellent in that show. Obviously, she is holding her ground with the legendary Steve Martin and Martin Short. Don't be mad at me, Steve Martin and Martin Short, but I think that Selena is the best part of that show. And I think that this brings us to an issue that is not new in Hollywood, that oftentimes when a celebrity is such a big star, but one that has attracted tabloid attention, they are ignored by voters, whether it's the Oscars or the Emmys. And we've seen this with J-Lo, when she was snubbed for Hustlers. I think we need to stop maybe looking at people as tabloid fixtures and tabloid magnets and saying, you could be in the tabloids, but you could also be a great artist.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But speaking of celebrities and tabloids, I think we have some news this week on one that's been in the news a lot.
Yes, so Britney Spears, I have been on top of that story. And this week I was back in court for the latest hearing in her conservatorship case. Now, for everybody who's saying, isn't that over? Yes, the conservatorship was terminated in November, but the legal battle for the pop star continues, namely against her father, Jamie Spears, and also her former business management, TriStar Sports and Entertainment. Well, this week in court, it was a big victory for Britney Spears. The judge ruled that Jamie Spears, her father, must sit for a deposition. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because Britney Spears' lawyer, Matthew Rosengart, has been saying for 9 months that he has been trying to depose Jamie Spears, but he has been evading that deposition. Well, the judge essentially agreed with him, saying that he hasn't shown up for his deposition, so now he must sit to be deposed in the next 30 days, and he must turn over all documents, including electronic surveillance. If you remember, the New York Times came out with a bombshell report that said throughout her conservatorship, she was basically being watched and spied on. The allegation in that report was that her father had hired a security team that bugged her bedroom in her home and also was monitoring her phone. Now, his team has denied that. They actually filed paperwork earlier this month, a formal declaration saying that's not true, but now in the deposition, we'll see what comes from that.
The Britney controversy never ends around here, but hopefully this is moving towards a resolution soon, because even though she's been freed of the conservatorship, there's still that cloud that looms over her, and I know she wants to move on, and a lot of people want to see her prosper and make music and do all that stuff that she's so good at.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to it. But one star that's not having a good week is Jamie Lee Curtis. In an interview with Elle magazine for Ana de Armas, who was on their cover this week, she was asked about the first time she met her former co-star of Knives Out. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis stepped into it a bit when she gave an answer that didn't seem to sit right with social media. Reading, "I assumed, and I say this with real embarrassment, because she had come from Cuba, that she had just arrived. I made an assumption that she was an inexperienced, unsophisticated young woman. That first day, I was like, oh, what are your dreams?" So that was just, it opened a flurry of roasting on social media, which then begged the question, why did you share that? And this also brings into the question, what Latinos, people of color, marginalized communities get all the time. If she was from Cuba, why is she unsophisticated? It's a very modernized country. So many things to break down there.
There's so many things wrong with this, obviously, but first of all, why say it? It's not like she was being asked it. She offered up this information and created this mess for herself. Now, I'm sure that the intention behind it was not to be malicious, but to your point, first of all, why are you using the word unsophisticated to be tied to any woman, anyone from Cuba? It just doesn't make sense. But the other thing here is, why did she know who her co-star was? Like, let's take away all the other problems. If you were about to star in a movie with someone, she wasn't a newcomer. Yeah. She had a very impressive list of credits to her name already.
Yeah, I mean, most of all, this points to unconscious bias that we all have. I have it. You know, it's a learning opportunity for Jamie Lee Curtis. She said she was embarrassed by it. Thank you for that. But this is unconscious bias. We all have to learn from it. And it started a conversation to not judge someone just because of an accent or where they come from.
Right, absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. But it also, our mystery with this continues, because this wasn't a profile about Ana de Armas. And usually when you have someone as a secondary voice, in this case, Jamie Lee Curtis, they are chosen and selected to be part of that piece to speak positively about them. So again, not sure why this even happened.
But one more star that we paid love to this week is Harrison Ford, who turned 80 years old. Variety's executive film editor, Brent Lang, did this wonderful tribute to him on Variety, listing his top 10 performances of all time. Obviously, they included Indiana Jones and Star Wars, along with his Oscar-nominated performance in Witness. Harrison Ford's a legend. It's Han Solo, it's Indy, it's everything. Listen, my favorite performances of his include The Fugitive. I love The Fugitive like more than most people know out there. And then I will always be in the camp of him sharing the screen with Sean Connery in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Absolutely.
It's hard to believe that he is 80. I feel like we're seeing so many of these stars who are just still killing it and doing the good work. And yeah, I'm really glad that we were able to have that beautiful piece to praise his work, but I have a confession, and you might not talk to me after this.
No.
So I just, 2 weeks ago, for the first time ever, watched Air Force One. I hadn't seen that film until 2 weeks ago. Oh, you're not mad at me?
No, not at all.
Okay, I feel like you're usually like, how have you not seen that film?
No, cinematic blind spots are okay. And then you discovered, did you like it?
I loved it.
Oh,
I was like
fun.
On the edge of, I was gonna say my seat, but my couch. And I mean,
get off my plane. It's like one of the best.
Yeah,
it's one of the best things ever.
Everyone else I had told I just watched it, they were like, are you serious? How did you not see this?
But let me just note, I can't wait for him to share the screen with Helen Mirren in the 1923 limited series spinoff, from Taylor Sheridan that's coming on Paramount Plus.
Absolutely, that is
Super
major
fun.
casting, and happy birthday to Harrison Ford. That is all the time that we have for today, but thanks as always for joining us right here on The Tape.
Thanks for watching.